Now, earlier today, Ian promised me that he would laugh while I was on stage. See that? However, I never said I was going to tell any jokes. So what I'd like your assistance with is for every time Ian laughs out of context, that he has to purchase an additional copy of my book. Yeah? All right, that's 2 so far. I'm watching you. Yeah. So I have a few questions for you. Now, they're rhetorical questions, so don't be pressured to answer them, but there are things I'd like you to think about. Are you as happy right now as you'd like to be? And if not, what are you doing about it? Are you as successful as you'd like to be right now? And if not, what actions are you taking? You're here, so that's a really good start. Now here's the kicker. Are you as powerful as you would like to be right now? And if not, what or who is holding you back? Is it you? University of Cambridge did a study in 2014 to assess how feelings of power or powerlessness affect our view of the world, and even more importantly, the weight of the world. So they asked subjects a series of questions to assess their level of social and personal power. Those who felt powerless were asked to carry a series of boxes weighing different weights and asked to judge how much those boxes weighed. And the people who were given affirmations and positive self-talk that increased their sense of power were then also asked to assess the weight of these various boxes. Consistently, those who felt powerless overestimated the weight of the boxes. Literally meaning that when we feel powerless, the weight of the world feels heavier. Now, I'm going to make an assumption, something a speaker should never do, but in this case, I'm feeling pretty safe about it, that all of you here were alive during the pandemic. I've scanned the room for infants and haven't found any, so I think that's a pretty safe assumption. How powerless did you feel when we were restricted, isolated, unable to see our friends and family, unable to go to work, to make money? How heavy did the world feel at times? Have you ever experienced powerlessness in other ways in your life? I have. I felt the weight of powerlessness through addiction for more than 30 years of my life. It was like experiencing life through a thick blanket of fog, where everything just felt disconnected, and I couldn't see a way out. But eventually, I did. Oh, well, obviously, I'm standing here today, so that's a really good sign that I did find my way out. But it was a process. It was step by step, day by day, trying to find within me the power I knew I had. I just couldn't access it. And then eventually, I started to achieve levels of success that I never previously imagined that I could do. Now, Ian, in my intro, mentioned that I became an athlete after the age of 40. And if you had asked my sick body, my underweight, unhealthy body for so many years, if I would become an ultra endurance runner after the age of 40, and actually just completing my 32nd endurance event this weekend, I would not have believed you. But what I did is I learned how to be a badass. Now, that word for me has always had a very positive connotation. I've always used the word and felt the word badass as an affirmation positive self-talk. So when I would make decisions and take a leap of faith and then stall midair and start to question and second guess myself, I had to reinforce it by going, come on, girl, you're a badass. You got this. You know it. You know you're a badass. Look at everything you've been able to accomplish in such a short period of time. But then I also realized that not everybody interprets the word badass the same way I do. And in fact, I had members of my own family that didn't want to know anything about my book or about my keynote or about my message because they're like, well, that's a curse word. I don't want to know anything about that. So I had to figure out, how can I show you, how can I show my listeners, my readers, the people that I want to inspire and engage, what that word means to me? And through thousands and thousands of kilometers, trying to figure out, what is it that makes us our most powerful self? Because I do my best thinking when I'm running. I realized it's an acronym. It's a framework. It's a 6-part framework. Each letter stands for something different. It stands for bravery. It stands for authenticity. It stands for direction. It stands for action. It stands for self-love. And it stands for positive self-talk. And when I apply all 6 of those things, when the people that I have helped to overcome their own obstacles have applied those 6 things as a daily practice, the power that you are able to access is unreal. So when I talk about how to be a badass, or that I know that I'm a badass and I do things every day that demonstrate what a badass I am living those principles. I'm living bravery, authenticity, purpose and direction, taking action in those steps, knowing that there is no power or self-mastery without self-love, and that we have to reinforce it with positive self-talk. Now, some of you might think, well, okay, that sounds really good, but, I'm not really sure if that book is for me. Okay, no problem. But who in your life might that story of overcoming obstacles? Now, my story is about addiction, and I do tell it in that book. But it's not a book about addiction. It's a book about overcoming your adversity, whatever it looks like, and being able to use those 6 principles every day as kind of a checklist or a guide to your actions. What am I doing today to be happy? What am I doing today to be successful? And how am I being my most powerful self? Maybe your story isn't about addiction. But what research has shown us is that 1 in 4 Australians will experience alcohol, other drug, or gambling problems in their lifetime. 1 in 4. So if that book's not for you, I want you to think about, who is that person in your life? That one person who you want more than anything for them to feel, to really feel how powerful they are. That you know what a badass they are. And that you know that all of their happiness and success is just on the other side of that door to freedom. And that all they have to do is have the courage to walk through it. So I want you to think about that person and grab a copy of my book for them.